Stargirl, episode 6 or 7, 6 or 7. This one's called Shiv, and this is the episode this is one of two episodes I've actually been waiting for. The other one being the Artemis Croc episode, but this one we finally get to, we finally get a little insight, and we finally get to explore the meanest bitch in the school. So Cindy, the most popular, least popular girl in school. The episode starts with, we're basically talking about her. Like, I mean, it opens with the new JSA. Like, all the members, like everybody, like they're all happy because they're being superheroes, and everybody's training and putting their stuff together and doing what they got to do. They're talking to Pat, and Pat's just like, all right, you guys, obviously you guys need training, and without training, I'm not gonna put you out in the field. So he's just like, everybody come to the garage after school, and we'll start the training, and we'll work on putting you guys together. Because Pat's whole thing is, he's just like, I ain't sending no kids out there to get to get killed. So after school, the entire gang gets together. They go to Pat's garage, and Pat basically, like, he has a little setup where he's trying to educate them, and he's trying to teach them, who they're dealing with, who these people are individually. What powers do they have? What situations that they did back in the day. And the whole time he's talking, and he's doing the whole thing, Courtney's basically just like interrupting him, and she's just like, oh, we know about this person, we know who the fiddler is, we know who this person is, and then she's just kind of like disrupting the whole process. And then, Pat had made like a little training facility where everybody could, like, individually work on their skills or whatever. And then Courtney's just like, Pat, this is so boring. And then, like, she's mad at the training, like she's mad at the orientation, and then she just, uses her skills and her power with the staff to blow up the entire training session. So then Pat gets upset, and then the rest of the gang gets upset too, because they're just like, especially Beth, because Beth was like, first of all, I don't know none of this shit, and you just kind of like, Beth was like, I needed this, and you just ruined the entire training session. And then even Yolanda didn't really say anything. She just got mad and she left, because Yolanda's whole thing is like, I'm not even allowed out the house. So now that you've destroyed the practice facility, she's like, I ain't got nothing to do now. Now I gotta go home. Rick, he was I was surprised at Rick, because Rick's used, like, if anybody would have been like, oh, this is so stupid, let's just go kick their ass, I would have thought it would have been Rick. Like, Rick would have been the one to disrupt the entire thing. But he was mad too, because I guess he wants to learn about his father. He wants to learn about what his dad and his parents had to go through, and then Courtney just ruined that whole thing. So the team got mad at her. They all left. Because like Beth said, she was like, it was supposed to be a team building exercise, and you just went rogue and disrupted the whole team. Pat's mad at her because he's just like, listen, I understand, like, you kind of know what you're doing, but even you need training, and you need to know how to work with them, because it's really about making sure everybody's safe, because we're not trying to let anybody get killed out here. So while everybody's at school, Cindy, I keep calling her Sydney. Cindy, she's going around basically being a bitch to, like, the entire school. She's pushing people, she's cursing people out. Even like her black best friend sidekick, she came up to her and she's like, oh, are you going to the homecoming dance? And then she was just like, no, bitch, I'm not going. And then and the funny thing is, her friend, like, I mean, well, they're still friends, I guess, but her friend, she's out of everybody in the school, because like Cindy's going around, she's like pushing people, she's shouldering people. There was this janitor, this old dude, he was just mopping the floor, like she kicked the mop out of his hand and like pushed him or whatever. The black girl was the only person who actually stood up to Cindy. And then, because Cindy's whole thing is like, I can eradicate you just like that. I can end your life. I could ruin your career. And then the black girl was just like, yo, why are you such a bitch? And I was just like, well, and then when she said that, I was like, well, thank God somebody said it, and then she was just like, I need a break from you because, like, you crazy. And then she's like, fine, like, I don't need you either. Then she got mad and she walked away. So, now she's at she's in chemistry. She's in like chemistry class. Courtney's in chemistry class. The two of them, like, the teacher was just like, everybody pair up in groups. And of course, the only two people that didn't have partners was Cindy and Courtney. So the two of them team up together. Cindy still being a bitch, but while they were together, they were talking about the project, because Cindy knows everything about like chemistry and like formulas and things of that nature. And Courtney was surprised. She was just like, like, you're really smart when it comes to all this stuff. And then she was like, yeah, because my dad taught me all this literally since I was a baby. Like, my dad used to do experiments with me. He used to do experiments on me. And, she's like, that's how she knows so much about it. But, because both of them are in a situation where they kind of feel, they're feeling some kind of way about, like they're being alone or whatever. Courtney asked her, she was just like, hey, would you like to hang out, Saturday night? And then Cindy was just like, yeah, she was just like, fine. She was like, we can hang out or whatever. Because her whole thing was like her boyfriend, Brainwave Jr., he's still dealing with, his father's coma. So Cindy came to him and she was just like, are we going to the homecoming dance? And he was just like, no, my dad's in the hospital. I ain't thinking about no stupid dance. So because she didn't have a date anymore, she took that out on the entire school. And because, she does, she does the whole thing of, like, I want to go to the dance. Like, it's super important to go to the dance. Like, oh, I don't have a date. Now it's like, now all of a sudden the dance is stupid and losers go to the dance, this, that, and third. That was her whole attitude. So when Courtney asked her to hang out, she was just like, all right, fine, I'll hang out with Courtney because at least I won't be alone and I don't have to worry about going to the dance because she doesn't have a date for the dance either. So like I said, so the two of them made that pact. They made that pact to hang out, and then they go their separate ways. And then Cindy started feeling a little bit better because she's like, hey, maybe I can have like a new best friend. So Cindy goes home, and when she gets home, like her stepmom is there because we find out Cindy's mom, was killed. So that was something that her and Courtney kind of bonded over because Courtney told her like, yeah, my dad died. And then she's like, oh, like I have a dead parent too. So maybe we can click up. So when Cindy goes home, she bumps into her stepmom. Her stepmom is like scared shitless. And, and I didn't understand why, but, Cindy was basically just like talking down to her and scaring her, and she was just like, "Oh, don't make me tell my father that you're mistreating me." And she's like, "No." And then it's like, and she wasn't acting like she wasn't a mom, she wasn't a stepmom, and Cindy even said to her dad, she was just like, yo, this chick is basically a glorified babysitter, and that's exactly what she is. And not, and it kind of feels like she's being kept there against her will, to be honest, with you. And so then Cindy's like, where's my dad? And then, the stepmom's just like, oh, he's downstairs, but you're not supposed to go down there. And she's like, whatever, bitch. And then she pushes the code, and then she goes downstairs. Now, when she went downstairs, it was the same tunnels that the Injustice Society use, to have their meetings. She was walking through the hallway. She was walking around the whole thing. She saw Solomon Grundy, and then she was just like, stop growling at me, motherfucker. And I was just like, so she's completely aware of the entire Injustice Society. And, she goes that when she gets to the bottom, to where the round table is, she sees the Injustice Society at the round table, and she's watching them. Like, the whole gang is there. They're talking about how to stop the new JSA. And then Sportsmaster was just like, oh, the new JSA, they're nothing but a bunch of kids. And then Tigress had said, she was just like, well, if they're kids, if they're teenagers, let's bring our kids into the fold so at least we can have some eyes and ears in the school. But then the principal, like the new fiddler, she was just like, no, I don't want my son involved in this lifestyle. And then she's like, that's good. And then Tiger's like, because your son's a punk and you coddle him, and that's why he's not ready. And then Icicle was just like, nah, he was just like, let's not do that yet. And, and it's funny because Sportsmaster and Tigers, they were onto something. And had they listened to the two of them, they probably would have got the answers that they wanted. The gambler, I mean, I don't even know if he even has a kid at this point because and like I said, the whole time Cindy's like watching this whole conversation between the Injustice Society, and then she gets snatched up and taken to like another room. So the dude who popped up a couple of episodes ago that I thought was Cobra, but apparently it was like a dragon symbol that he had on his on his head. He snatched her up, like the big scary dude, with the cloak and all this other stuff and the mask. That's Cindy's dad. And I'm just like, I did not see that coming. Like, if anyone would have said, if somebody would have put all of them in a lineup and said, all right, pick out which one of these supervillains is this girl's father, I would not have picked that dude. But apparently he's her dad. And because he's the scientist, he's like the chemist, and he's the I don't want to say the brain, but he's like the chemical like brain of he's the one that probably created Solomon Grundy. They'll probably say that or whatever. But because he's that science guy, he straight up performed experiments on his daughter. He gave Cindy superpowers. Like when she was a kid, he did experiments on her, which gave her superpowers. For some reason, she has a sword or a knife or a dagger that slides out of her wrist like Wolverine style. So that's pretty crazy. And then they said something very subtle because she was just, like when they were talking about how he gave her superpowers, how he experimented on her and gave her powers, she had made a comment about that being the reason why her mom died. And then, they basically said without saying that this dude gave his daughter powers. His daughter had like superpowers. She had knives in her wrist or whatever, and because she was a kid and she didn't know how to like control her powers and how to use her powers, she accidentally killed her mom. Like she probably like as a baby or like as like a 5-year-old, she probably accidentally stabbed her mom with one of the daggers, and that's how her mom died. So Cindy's also carrying around like the burden and like the pain of being responsible for her mother's death. Icicle was talking to Icicle Jr. He was talking to his son. His son basically told him that, he likes Courtney and he wanted to ask Courtney to homecoming. So his dad was just like, you should do it because, maybe she likes you too. She's just waiting for you to ask. So he's decided that that's what he's going to do. Barbara, she ends up like Icicle, he's taking all the people from his job to like some conference or whatever to talk about, how they could improve the town. He invites Barbara to go with him. So she's going to miss the homecoming. So the homecoming thing, it's like the thing where like everybody, like the whole town goes to. So Barbara's not going, because she has the conference that she has to go to. Before she leaves to go to the conference, Pat's son, I can't remember his name, Pat Jr., he ends up giving Barbara like this whole bag full of candy, like road, like he called it like road food or whatever. And then, the two of them bonded, and he's kind of like sucking up to, to Barbara, which is kind of funny. So now we're at homecoming. Everybody's at homecoming. Pat, Courtney, the son, they're all at homecoming. Pat and Courtney are having like a private conversation. The son's asking what they talk about. They say nothing. Pat decides, he's like, all right, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go get some snacks. The son ends up getting mad at Courtney. He's just like, oh, stop hanging around my dad 24 hours a day. Like, he's not your dad, he's my dad. And then he was just like, you don't see me hanging around Barbara, like holding on to Barbara just because I lost my mom. And I'm like, bro, you literally just gave that woman a bag of trail mix to like suck up in the worst way. So then he gets mad because he feels like Courtney's trying to steal his dad or whatever. And then he gets mad and he leaves. So then when everybody's gone and then it's just Courtney sitting there, Icicle Jr. comes rolling in, and then he's just like, yo, Courtney, would you like to go to dance? And then she said yes, but she was like, I made plans with Cindy. And then she was like, let me go talk to her or whatever. She goes down. She goes because Cindy. She's the captain of the cheerleading squad. So she goes down. She goes down to talk to Cindy. Cindy was actually happy, which was funny. Cindy was just like, oh hey, like she's like, why don't you join the cheerleading team, Courtney? And then she was just like, I'll think about it. But she's like, I basically wanted to let you know that I got asked to to the homecoming dance. And because of that, I can't hang out with you on Saturday. So she was like, can we reschedule? And then Cindy was like, no, we can't reschedule. Not tomorrow, not ever. She was just like, get out of my face, bitch. And then Cindy gets mad and she storms off. Courtney, then she sees the principal like on the phone doing something shady. Then she starts following the principal. She follows the principal to her office, and then she sees that the principal has like a secret entrance, like a secret hideout entrance like in her office. So Courtney, she brought her gear with her. The staff is there. She puts on her Stargirl attire, and then she starts following the the principal. She goes to the secret hideout passage. She busts through the door, and then now she's in the Injustice caverns. Looking for the principal, because apparently the Injustice Society has an underground tunnel network that connects to everyone's house, connects to the school, and different places all over the town. Cindy ends up going back home. I don't know if she went back home, but like she probably used one of the tunnels. She goes downstairs because she wants to talk to her dad, and then she's just like, Dad, I want to join the Injustice Society right now, because at this point she mad, and because Courtney was like her last chance at like real friendship, and then she blew that. So and then she feels like Courtney turned on me too, so now she's just ready to blow everything up. So she's just like, Dad, I want to sit at the table, like I want to join the bad guys. Nobody's there. The entire place is empty. And she sees the costume that her dad had made, and then there was also like a magic staff that had a dragon on it that that her dad made. And then Cindy was just like, you know what, screw this shit. She puts the costume on, takes the staff, and then she looks into like the monitors, because obviously they have cameras and monitors. She looks into the monitors and she sees Stargirl walking around the tunnels. So Cindy puts the garb on, she puts the costume on, and then she goes after Stargirl. She finds Stargirl, busts her ass through the thing, The two of them are like fighting all over the school. There was a moment where Stargirl took her staff and burned Cindy's face, and then like her face burned, and then her face turned back to normal. And then that's when Stargirl realized it was Cindy. And then, you know, the two of them kept fighting, and then Pat was just like, where the hell's Courtney? So Pat went looking for Courtney. The two of them are fighting in the gymnasium, and then, you know, while they're fighting in the gymnasium, you know, Cindy ends up getting the better of Courtney because, again, Courtney doesn't have, like, Cindy's been doing this shit since she was a baby. Courtney doesn't have, like, proper training. Like I said, she gets by off her athletic talent, but she doesn't have actual, like, training. You know, so the two of them are fighting, and then she gets she knocks Courtney down. Courtney's down for the count. So earlier in the episode, we were talking about the janitor who Cindy basically, like, she, like, pushed over and, like, kicked the mop out of his hand. When he went back into his janitor's closet to get another mop, they showed he had like a sword, like some Excalibur looking sword, you know, like sitting off in the corner. And he was also talking like very medieval time-ish, like he just had one of those King Arthur voices and have at thee and blah blah blah. So when Cindy had Courtney down for the count and she was about to strike Courtney down, the janitor came out of nowhere with the Excalibur sword, and then, you know, he fought off Cindy and he knocked Cindy out, and but now both girls were like laid out on the floor. Pat shows up, you know, the janitor runs, and then the janitor's looking on because he kept screaming, like, because first of all, like, Pat kept yelling Courtney, Courtney, Courtney. So I think Cindy knows that Stargirl is Courtney now, if she was listening and paying attention. Cindy dipped. Pat shows up. The janitor's looking at Pat from a distance, and then he recognized him. He was like, "Is that Stripesy?" So I don't know if the janitor was he the JSA's janitor? Like, was he actually from medieval times? Was he a character that traveled through time to help the JSA or whatever? You know, I know there is a character in DC where I think it was Lancelot, like he had like the sword of Excalibur or whatever, and he rode on like the flying horse or some shit like that. So I don't know, but this dude, he obviously knows the JSA. He knows the JSA. He knows who Pat is. So I guess he'll make his presence known, like, as the episodes go forward. And then like I said, like it's still we still don't know yet if Cindy is aware that that Courtney's Stargirl, because like I said, Pat kept screaming her name. You know, Pat was trying to help her up. Courtney didn't get up, and then, you know, that's how the episode pretty much ended. So that was cool. This was part one. Like, so there's gonna be, so I mean, I don't see the point of a part one, part two when every episode follows each other. But you know, so I guess we'll get Shiv part two next week. Yeah, we'll get Shiv part two next week, and then we'll see how this whole thing unfolds, because again, more people are starting to get brought up. Like, even the fiddler, she mentioned her son, you know, like being part of the fold. So a lot of the kids, like the JSA flat out said, let's bring our kids into this shit. So the kids the kids will be a part of it before the season's over, but we'll see how this whole thing plays out. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the Shiv situation. You know, let me know what you think about, you know, who's going to be the fifth person to join Courtney's group. I still think it's going to be Artemis, because there's going to be an episode where Artemis joins the fold and then she has second thoughts and joins the good guys. Maybe I don't know if somebody good will make the turn, but like I said, we'll see. But it's very interesting. It's definitely very interesting. And those are the only two characters left. The only two characters who haven't revealed themselves yet are Artemis and the fiddler's son. Oh, and also the gambler, like the fact that even if he has children. So so thank you for tuning in. Like I said, leave a comment as always, like and or subscribe. Check out my Doom Patrol videos, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming soon, and then we'll be back here to talk about part 2 of S.H.I.E.L.D. So for Stargirl, take care everybody. Until next time, I'm out this bitch.